Thank you, Madam Chairman, for being here. Appreciate your work and your interest. You gave a speech recently on the importance of macroprudential tools to curtail financial instability if a particular asset class gets overheated. The persistent low interest rate environment has caused a reach for yield. The Fed is taking the stance that regulatory tools such as increased capital requirements, countercyclical buffers, margining, central clearing requirements for derivatives will improve the resiliency of our financial system. So my question for you, rather than preventing asset bubbles from happening, we're now taking the approach that they're going to happen and we're going to deal with them. Is that an accurate statement?
Well, I think the steps that you indicated to strengthen the financial system do two things. They diminish the odds that bubbles will develop. For example, these rules diminish the chance that leverage will build up as an economy strengthens. We've taken steps and will take further steps to diminish the likely buildup in leverage in the economy.
But you would agree that zero interest rate policy is tending to make people reach for yield now and is an impetus towards bubble creation in certain asset classes.
Well, it can be, and that's why we're watching very carefully.
Is there any one particular area that you're worried about right now in terms of asset bubbles? Well,
I've mentioned leveraged lending.
Yes.
And corporate debt markets, especially lower rated companies. I think we're seeing a deterioration in lending standards, and we are attentive to risks that can develop in this environment. For example, that banks may be, or others may be, taking on interest rate risk, and when interest rates ultimately begin to rise, that if firms or individuals have taken risks and aren't adequately prepared to deal with them, that can cause distress. Among the institutions that we supervise, we're certainly looking at management of interest rate risk. We are using stress testing in this latest round. We had specific scenarios designed to look at how large banking organizations would fare if interest rates were to increase rapidly. And we're focused on how firms are managing their own interest rate risk. So I think there are some risks in a low interest rate environment. I've indicated that, and we're aware of them, but I think the improvements we've put in place in terms of regulation both diminishes the odds that risks will develop, and if there is an asset bubble and it bursts, it will, and we're not going to be able to catch every asset bubble or everything that develops.
I guess that goes to my core question. Rather than have a policy that causes bubbles to create, why wouldn't we have a policy that doesn't cause that, one? And number two is, it just seems to me now that we're kind of locked in this zero interest rate phenomenon, and one of the consequences of that is reaching for yield, and now we're going to try to attenuate the response to the zero interest rate rather than change the zero interest rate policy so that we don't have the bubbles in the first place.
So we have to recognize also that we're dealing with a real problem. The reason we have low interest rates is to deal with a very real problem, namely the economy is operating significantly short of its potential. Employment is suppressed well below its maximum sustainable level, and inflation is running below our objectives. That's why we are holding interest rates low, and were we to significantly raise interest rates to deal with the set of concerns that you indicated, we should expect even worse performance on those important goals that Congress has established for the Federal Reserve. And if we were to weaken the economy, it's not even clear that we would be mitigating financial stability risks overall, because
we're in the trap.
There are considerations in both directions, and so we need to be very attentive to the financial stability risks. And as I've indicated, if they were to become extreme and other tools were not available or were not successful, I wouldn't take monetary policy off the table as a tool to be used. But we should by no means think that it would be costless, because it could be very costly in terms of achieving other very important objectives, and a weak economy creates its own set of financial stability risks. And so it's not even clear that on balance we would be promoting financial stability. So this isn't a simple matter. There are complex trade-offs involved here.
Mr. Chairman, I have additional questions for the record.
Yeah.